So I just finished watching Bread and Circuses. This was a meh. That's kind of how I felt about this episode. A lot of potential, like so many episodes before, and they didn't just drop the ball, they dropped it multiple times. There's a lot of really great ideas here, but this episode is riddled with plot holes and continuity issues. Here we have another situation where the Enterprise comes across a planet that just happens to be like Earth. But at least this time what I liked was they tried to explain it. That there is this theory called the parallel world evolution theory or something like that, that explains it. Okay, cool. I like that idea because honestly, I'm getting a little sick of the, hey, let's go to a world. Everybody's white and they speak English and it's just like Earth, but it's a little different. I get why they did it. It's, the 60s, low budget, sci-fi show, underground, nobody's watching, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I don't need justification for it, but it's getting old. And I think that's part of it is I'm, watching this series from somebody who didn't grow up with it, and I'm just seeing it for the first time, almost a half a century later. And that's something that doesn't hold up well. So, this time around, they go to this planet and... Kirk, Spock, McCoy beam down to the planet, and when they get there, they find out that, hey, it's just like Earth. 20th century Earth. But they're Romans. Alright. What's going to be the explanation this time? Like, a piece of the action worked really well with the whole gangster thing, and they had a great way of explaining it. Here, they don't really explain too much. Like I said, of course, they had this theory the parallel evolution thing, which I think is a cool idea, but they never explain it. They never go into detail. So, like I said, that's where I'm a little torn about this episode. It's like, great idea, no follow through. They meet some people, they speak English. Spock even exclaims, wow, they speak English. Again, they're acknowledging that this is kind of a deal, but they don't go into any more detail. Why do they speak English? Why aren't they speaking Mandarin? Why aren't they speaking Italian? Why aren't they speaking Portuguese? That's the thing, is every planet they go to, yeah, okay, it paralleled Earth in its evolution, but except for one change, but every time it's English as the dominant language. I don't really buy it there. So anyway, they go to this planet, Romans driving cars, they're slaves, there's gladiatorial type events that are televised. All really cool ideas, but no follow through with any of it for the most part. The team gets captured. Turns out that one of the high guys in command used to be a former captain of another ship that the Enterprise was looking for, blah, blah, blah. We've seen that scenario before. Kirk has to, try to save the team. The whole time they're talking about the Prime Directive. And again, I love the idea of the Prime Directive. This is a really cool idea of, we're out here exploring, but we're not to interfere. But they do it all the time. And they even talk about in this episode, they're like, yeah, we would much rather die than violate the Prime Directive. And everybody on our ship would die before they violate the Prime Directive. You violate it all the time, and you're not killing yourselves off. Hey, there's an idea for an episode. What if a ship, really violates the Prime Directive? Do they all commit suicide together? Does the ship, do they all get executed by the Federation? What happens? That would be a cool story. I would like to see that done. Anyway, back to this episode. Of course, they get captured, and they gotta make their way out. They have to fight. Another gladiatorial ring type thing. Bored. Just really bored with that. We've seen it all before. This episode really just felt like they rehashed stuff from a bunch of previous episodes, put it together, slapped this plot on it, and no real thought to it. There's this group of slaves that have run away, and they're living in the mountains, and they worship the sun, and they have this little dialogue about, well, this is weird, there were no sun gods in Rome, and I kind of called it right off the bat what the twist was going to be with it. I do have to say it wasn't too obvious. It really wasn't, but I figured because they were making such a big deal out of this fact that there's this group that worships the sun, but they don't worship the Roman gods, but the Roman gods are in control, and the sun group is really peaceful and everything. Anyway, that was that. Highlights of the episode? Yeah, there were some. One, the McCoy-Spock dynamic. Really back and forth on this episode. And there's a neat little piece where one of the other characters said, are they enemies or are they friends? And Kirk is like, I don't even think they know. I like that. Character development. Let's go in that direction. Let's explore these characters a little bit more. I like that part of it. This is another episode where Scotty runs the Enterprise, and he's always fun when he's in the captain's chair. I really, really like him. Sulu, Chekhov, not really doing anything in this episode. I was kind of disappointed about that. I thought this would have been a great episode to see them do something on the Enterprise. Again, nothing. Way too much focused on Kirk and the away crew. Kirk has a macking session with a girl, of course, pretty blonde. More fighting. They escape. Blah, blah, blah. You know where it's going. Not that interesting. So the big twist is, of course, they bring up the whole thing once they're back on the Enterprise about the sun worshippers. And Uhura's like, well, don't you get it? Like, it's not the sun like in the sky. They're worshiping the Son of God. The whole idea is that it's the birth of Christianity just 2,000 years later. I like that idea. That right there, that could have been the premise of the episode. That would have been something I'd like to have seen. How are they going to take it, looking at the birth of Christians who were living in caves in the early years, and this whole underground society that they had to do in the midst of the Roman Empire that was hunting them down. That would have been a cool episode. Nope, not really explored. Like I said, I kind of saw that twist coming, that it wasn't going to be S-U-N, but S-O-N. Alright. That's, like I said, that's it. There's nothing interesting going on in this plot. Lots of plot holes. Not highly recommended. It wasn't awful. This was not a painfully bad episode like some of the others that I've seen. This is what we'd call an idjit episode. Idjit is, it's just there. And that's how I feel about this. So, I've got one more episode to go, and then we will finish out Season 2, and then I will do a Season 2 recap. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you later.